Our protagonist entered the game world where his brother had been trapped along with other players, hoping to help him survive. He created a tank character to protect him and managed to unlock a secret skill that allowed him to crush any enemy with a single blow when he had only 1 health point left. Unfortunately, when he finally met his brother, he witnessed him being killed before his eyes by another player. Determined to avenge his brother and fulfill his wish of turning this strange world into a safe place for everyone, our protagonist decided to use the power he had gained. Will he succeed? And what challenges will he face? That's what we'll find out in today's story. Our story begins in the midst of chaos, where we find our protagonist in a pitiful state, lying on the ground, his body covered in wounds, and his clothes torn apart. Amidst it all, a realization dawns upon him. Today was supposed to mark his 17th birthday. It is then revealed that the one standing before him, the one attacking him, is a massive and terrifying creature. The protagonist explains that everything he went through was caused by a single blow from this beast, one that was supposedly created through code, or at least, that was what he believed. We are then taken back in time, 3 months before this incident, to the site of a massive volcano spewing smoke and lava. Deep within this volcano, surrounded by blazing fire and molten rock, a bizarre-looking monster emerges. At that moment, 2 fighters appear, standing face-to-face with the creature, ready to confront it. One of them, whose name is revealed to be Naoki, remarks that the recent move was incredibly strong, urging his companion to hold on just a bit longer. But the beast launches an attack on Naoki, who raises his shield in defense. However, the creature's power far exceeds his, delivering a devastating strike that shatters his shield and hurls him backward. We then see Naoki crashing violently onto the ground, clearly exhausted and struggling. At that moment, a notification appears on screen, stating that his endurance ability has been activated, now totaling 46 times. Naoki then tells the other fighter that his presence always makes him nervous, and we see his health bar, showing he has only 1 attempt left out of 192. The other fighter responds by praising his efforts, then charges at the monster with incredible speed. Spotting the perfect opening, he dashes forward and leaps high above the creature. He then brings his sword down with a powerful finishing strike, ultimately defeating the monster. As a result of this victory, his level rises to 20, and he informs us that the conditions for a job change have now been met. Clearly overjoyed, he thanks Naoki for making the win possible. We learn that his name is Hiroki, and his class is Warrior. Naoki then tells Hiroki that he relies too much on his brother, and it becomes clear that they are siblings. We also learn that Naoki is at level 3, with the class Tank, and he adds that even though it's just a game, being down to a single life is terrifying. Hiroki laughs and apologizes, prompting Naoki to rise and declare that it's time to stop grinding levels. Hiroki tries to convince him to keep playing a bit longer, but Naoki mentions he has work later. Noticing his younger brother's disappointment, Naoki reassures him that they'll spend the next day together in-game, and promises that once he helps him become the top player, the great Hiroki had better give him a big reward. Hiroki laughs with joy and tells Naoki he'll help him level up too, so they can claim the 1st and 2nd ranks together. We then shift to a new scene outside the game, in the real world, where Hiroki is seen unconscious in a hospital bed. His family surrounds him while listening to a news broadcast announcing an upcoming segment with an expert to discuss the issue in depth. It becomes clear that this isn't limited to Korea. News footage shows similar cases in Tokyo, with reports confirming that the incident occurred within the popular online game Genesis Chronicle. The same situation is reported in Paris, where all children and teenagers who played the game have fallen into the same condition. Additional footage from Rome shows more affected players, and the news reports that these poor children have remained in this state for nearly a month. It becomes evident that this phenomenon has affected every player involved in the game worldwide. On a talk show, the host directs a question to the invited expert, inquiring about the possible causes of the event and potential solutions, while the program delves into the fate of 120 million players trapped inside the game. The guest responds to the host's question, stating that what happened was, in essence, a terrorist act carried out by the game's developers, who are now holding the players hostage within the virtual world. Since the incident began, escaping the game has become impossible, and any harm players suffer inside it is directly reflected on their real bodies. If a player's health points drop to 0, the game ends for them, and so does their life in the real world. He stresses that these issues are all tied to the virtual reality headsets. He also mentions that confirmed deaths have occurred when people tried to forcibly disconnect the victims from the game. Meanwhile, Naoki stands outside his brother's hospital room, visibly distraught and overwhelmed. He feels responsible for what happened, since it was he who gave Hiroki the game as a birthday gift. The expert continues on the program, stating that no solutions have been found so far, and urges anyone who owns the game not to log into it under any circumstances. At that moment, we see Naoki at home, holding the virtual reality headset, torn between the fear of dying if he enters the game, and the thought of Hiroki, who remains trapped inside, fighting alone. Despite appearing mature in-game, he is, in reality, only 12 years old. Naoki realizes that if he leaves his brother alone and something happens to him, he will never forgive himself, and so, he makes up his mind to enter. He places the VR headset on his head and logs into the game, thinking of Hiroki and asking him to hang on a little longer. He's coming to save him. After learning what happened 3 months ago, we return to the present timeline inside the game, where players are seen running in terror. One of them suddenly trips over a large rock and falls to the ground, and his teammate is unable to go back and help him. At that moment, the injury he suffers in the game begins affecting his real body. He appears to be on the brink of death, gripped by overwhelming fear, crying and begging not to die. Suddenly, a tall creature attacks his head, lifting him off the ground as though sucking the life and blood out of him. It's then revealed that this long red object is actually the tongue of a monster in the game, one that truly ends the player's life. There seem to be many of these monsters in the same area where the player and his teammate are located. His companion stands frozen, witnessing what just happened in shock, sorrow, and deep fear for her own safety. We then see that the player has lost his life in the game, with a message flashing on screen announcing that the game is over for him. He has died in reality. At that moment, the monsters begin turning toward the girl. It's now her turn, and she stands trembling with fear. Just as the monsters attack, Naoki enters the game and rushes toward the girl the moment he sees what's happening. He reaches her in time, placing himself between her and the monsters, using his shield to block the assault. But the creature proves extremely powerful, landing a fierce blow that sends both Naoki and the girl flying backward across a great distance. A notification then appears on Naoki's screen, showing that the Extreme Endurance ability has been activated again, now for the 9,999th time. It also shows that he has only 1 health point left out of a total of 213. He asks the girl if she's okay. She thanks him and says she's alright, then asks about his condition and health points. He assures her that he's fine, explaining it's due to a special skill he has. We then learn that this is an exclusive skill for the tank class. As long as his health is at 70% or higher, fatal blows won't kill him. They'll leave him with just 1 point. This is what's known as the Extreme Endurance ability. Naoki explains to the girl that this skill keeps a player at 1 health point, even after a fatal blow, as long as specific conditions are met. He takes a sip of water and continues, adding that even before things changed, it was a terrifying experience, even without feeling pain. But now, with players experiencing real physical pain from in-game injuries, every deadly hit has become much more brutal. Naoki recalls that he created this account solely to play alongside his brother Hiroki, always offering him support to help level up. Because of this, Naoki had never been strong enough to defeat even low-level monsters. He realizes now that he doesn't really have any significant impact in the game, and while he was lucky to save the girl this time, he knows he lacks the strength to truly protect her in his current state. He tells her he'll go scout ahead while the monsters are unaware of their presence, and after that, they'll escape as fast as they can to the nearest village. She agrees to the plan. Soon after, Naoki moves ahead to observe the monsters and figure out when they can safely make their move. But he's shocked by the sudden appearance of an unexpected monster at this level, one known as Jack Rex. Naoki questions why it would show up at such a moment, especially since this beast preys on other monsters called Oharu, meaning it would be far more dangerous if it noticed them. Suddenly, the creature turns and stares directly at Naoki, who immediately rushes back to the girl, telling her to run at once. As expected, the massive monster attacks them ferociously, and the two barely escape its claws. Naoki mutters in disbelief, saying that even Jack Rex's normal attacks feel like natural disasters. The creature's movement causes the ground to shake violently, with large rocks crashing down from above. Naoki and the girl run desperately, trying to get away, but a massive boulder falls directly in front of them, blocking their only escape route. They both stop in their tracks, frozen, while Naoki turns to see that the monster is now dangerously close, and he realizes how dire the situation has become. The monster charges at Naoki with its enormous claws, delivering a devastating blow. Naoki is left badly wounded, his clothes torn, but he remains standing in front of the girl, still trying to shield her. His condition is critical, and though the fatal strike has taken a heavy toll, thanks to his extreme endurance skill, his health remains at a single point. A new message appears on screen, indicating that the skill has been triggered once more, marking the 10,000th activation. Naoki remarks that no matter how many times he's used this ability, regardless of the count, he feels there's no longer any way to escape his fate. This might truly be the end. He silently questions, is my life really ending now? Will I die before I can save Hiroki? These thoughts, mixed with his deep fear for his younger brother, fuel an intense surge of anger, pushing him to rise again with determination. He stands firm in front of the monstrous Jack Rex, who is preparing to strike once more. At that moment, A new notification appears for Naoki, congratulating him for reaching 10,000 activations of the extreme endurance skill. Following this, another message appears, stating that he has unlocked a new hidden skill called Spirit of Despair. When Naoki sees the message, he doesn't yet understand what the skill does, but suddenly, he feels a powerful energy rushing through his body. To his surprise, his body begins to glow with a strange light, and in that instant, his fist reaches the monster's fang. The moment his hand touches the fang, a massive explosion occurs, one powerful enough to annihilate the enormous beast. Naoki and the girl with him are both stunned by the sudden surge of power he unleashed and the massive explosion that took down the monster in an instant. Looking ahead, they notice the ground now bears a giant crater, left behind by the monster's impact after Naoki's strike. Naoki glances at the hand he used to deliver the blow. It's still glowing, engulfed in flames, and he has no idea what's happening to him. The girl, astonished, asks what just happened and how he managed to hide such a powerful ability. He replies that he's just as surprised and recalls that he saw a notification on screen. He remembers the message and decides to open his status window to check the details. He discovers that he's acquired a skill called Spirit of Despair, which states that when his health is at 1 point, his attack power increases dramatically for 10,000 minutes. Naoki realizes from this that his attack strength must have reached its peak. The girl remarks in disbelief that a tank class could possess a hidden skill of such overwhelming power. Naoki begins to wonder if the reason behind it might be that after the world of the game changed, he kept using the extreme endurance skill to protect others. Could that have triggered the awakening of this hidden ability? He looks at his hand again, thinks of his brother, and says that with this new power, even Hiroki might. But suddenly, they both hear movement behind the trees. Before they can react, a group of monsters rushes toward them all at once. The girl panics and screams that there are far too many of them, while Naoki remains composed after unlocking his new skill. He reassures her, saying there's no need to fear. His Spirit of Despair skill allows him to defeat them all with a single strike, even from the shockwave alone. He then delivers a powerful blow toward the monsters, yet nothing happens. With no other option, he grabs the girl and starts running, trying to escape the monsters as quickly as possible. The girl asks why the Spirit of Despair skill didn't activate. He admits he doesn't know, and quickly opens his skill window. He's shocked to find a section that states the skill has a time limit. It only lasts for 3 minutes. He also notices another condition. He can't heal for 30 minutes while his health remains at 1 point. They continue fleeing, and Naoki is unsure what to do, especially after barely surviving the last ordeal. Now they're facing yet another disaster. Suddenly, the girl pushes him aside and runs off, leaving him confused and unsure what's going on. His confusion only grows when he sees her rush toward a patch of grass on the ground, grabbing and eating it in an extremely odd way. He yells at her, saying this isn't the time for something like that. But then, after consuming the grass, a strange purple glow surrounds her, and a screen appears showing a boost in her power. She places a hand on Naoki and utters the words, "Magic Trick." In that instant, duplicates of both of them appear and dash away from their original spots. These copies draw the attention of the monsters, distracting them and luring them away from Naoki and the girl. At last, the two manage to reach the first village, the one Naoki had originally planned to escape to, completely drained from exhaustion. The village itself lies deep within a forest full of monsters, with a small gate and several modest houses inside. After they catch their breath, the girl introduces herself as Izuboy Rabiko, a level 135 mage. Naoki introduces himself in return, telling her he's a tank at level 8, and says he's glad they met. Rabiko thanks Naoki for saving her, saying she wouldn't have known what to do if he hadn't been there. He laughs and tells her that she's the one who saved him, then asks if the grass she ate was some kind of magical item. She confirms it with surprise and asks if he didn't know. He replies that he had no idea. He's still a beginner. She laughs too, saying she's also still a beginner, and adds that it's amazing they both made it out of that situation alive. But suddenly she becomes emotional and starts crying, saying she was terrified and thought she was going to die. Naoki is caught off guard by the sudden shift in her emotions, but quickly understands and gently pats her on the shoulder. He reflects that he can relate to how she feels. They barely escaped death, and finds himself wondering how all of this is happening in a place that was supposed to be just a game. The game Genesis Chronicle, also known as GCO, had become famous for its vast freedom and global scale. He recalls that it was one of the most popular games, played by over 300 million people worldwide, until one day, the world inside it changed completely. Savage monsters began appearing, killing players one after another, and GCO turned from a beloved game into a deadly weapon. Naoki realizes that the Spirit of Despair skill is now his main weapon in the fight against these monsters. He remembers that if he's right, he can activate it any time, as long as his health stays at 1 point. But if the timing is wrong, it could cost him his life, so he'll need to use it carefully. Rabiko interrupts his thoughts, saying that his skill was so powerful it let him defeat Jack Rex, a top-tier monster, with just one blow, even though it usually takes level 50 or higher to beat it. She adds that the attack was so impressive, it reminded her of one of Hero King's moves. As soon as Naoki hears the name Hero King, he's shocked, grabs her, and asks if she knows Hiroki. Rabiko looks puzzled at the name Hiroki, and asks if he means Hero King, then tells him of course she knows him. He's incredibly famous these days. She goes on to say that, after the game world changed, when she was even more of a novice than now, Hero King helped her in the same way Naoki helped her today. Naoki asks if there's any way to contact him. Rabiko opens her interface and says they added each other as friends. He told her to reach out if she was ever in danger, but she never did because it felt awkward. Naoki looks at the screen and says he understands now. Back when he used to play with Hiroki, his level was too low to access the friend feature. He asks Rabiko if she can send him a message now. She agrees, but wants to know what to say. He tells her to write exactly this: "Your big brother is here." We cut to a new scene, where the message Rabiko sent has already reached Hiroki in the game. He notices the new message but isn't able to open it right away. He's in the middle of an intense battle. His opponent sees the message notification and mocks him, saying he should reply. He adds that this is his last chance to leave a farewell note before he dies. Hiroki replies that the message can wait. He'll respond after winning the fight. Back with Naoki and Rabiko, they sit waiting for a reply from Hiroki, but nothing comes through. Rabiko says he's probably busy right now and hasn't opened the message yet. Then she checks the screen and notices he's nearby, and asks Naoki if they should head toward him now. Naoki is overjoyed to learn his brother is close, and asks her to take him there right away. We shift back to Hiroki, who is still locked in battle against the monsters. The enemy he's facing is perched atop an enormous beast, yet Hiroki stands his ground, wielding a relatively small sword in comparison to the creature's massive size. The figure atop the beast laughs mockingly, remarking that Hiroki has an impressive fighting spirit. He then commands the giant creature beneath him to strike, landing a powerful blow that knocks Hiroki to the ground. The beast descends, and the rider dismounts, standing before Hiroki and calling him a true hero. It's then revealed that his name is Zeal, a level 63 demon king. Zeal continues, saying Hiroki hasn't disappointed him, and that his strength lives up to his name, Hero King. Hiroki stands tall with courage and defiance. We learn that Hero King is his in-game name, and that his class is Hero, at level 65. Hiroki realizes the opponent before him is a player who holds the hidden Demon King class, an incredibly dangerous role. He also recognizes that the creature beside Zeal is most likely a dragon, an immensely powerful being that can only be defeated by players of level 58 and above. He recalls having seen similar monsters transform before, and suspects that Zeal was the one responsible for turning them. Hiroki then takes a deep breath and decides to confront Zeal. He raises his sword and demands that Zeal stop what he's doing, warning him that he doesn't want to kill him. Zeal scoffs at his words, calling him far too weak to be a threat, and sneers, "You're such a gentle little hero." Suddenly, Zeal notices 3 people watching the fight closely from a distance. A sinister smile appears on his face, and he dashes toward them at incredible speed. Hiroki yells at him to leave them alone, but Zeal reaches them, places his hands on their faces, and begins to take control of their minds. He then casts a forbidden technique known as Beast Gate Technique. At that moment, something completely unexpected happens, leaving Hiroki frozen in shock at what he just witnessed. Zeal has transformed the 3 observers, who had only been watching out of curiosity, into grotesque, monstrous creatures. Hiroki becomes more furious than ever, thinking about how easily humans are being turned into monsters, and considers it unforgivable. But before he can act, the monsters created by Zeal attack him, putting him in a highly dangerous situation. Hiroki is unable to fight back. He doesn't want to hurt them, so he focuses only on dodging their strikes. He manages to evade their repeated attacks, leaping over them gracefully, and heading straight for Zeal. The two engage directly, and Hiroki lands a sharp, painful strike that catches Zeal off guard. Enraged, Zeal commands both his original monsters and the newly transformed ones to eliminate Hiroki. The monsters grow even more aggressive, ready to charge. Hiroki shouts, asking why Zeal is doing all this. Zeal looks at him with mild surprise, then calmly states that he doesn't want the current state of GCO's world to fall apart. He adds that this world is free of useless advantages and unnecessary restrictions. Only the strong deserve to live freely. He confesses that he loves this world more than anything, and no one wants to see what they love fall into ruin. He tells Hiroki he shouldn't go against what others care about. But these words infuriate Hiroki. He yells, asking if Zeal truly means what he said, that he loves this world. Then he demands, "What's so great about a game where people die in real life?" In response, Zeal places his hand on the ground and activates a magic circle, replying calmly that everyone sees things differently. Through this circle, he summons all the monsters nearby, then asks Hiroki whether he'd prefer a vote, to let the majority decide. Suddenly, Hiroki finds himself surrounded by a massive number of monsters, all of them thirsting for his destruction under Zeal's command. Despite this, he refuses to give in, standing his ground and defending himself, careful not to harm any of the humans who were turned into monsters. Zeal, meanwhile, notices that even though he had created many transformed humans, the level difference between him and Hiroki no longer seems to matter, and he's likely to lose if things continue this way. At that moment, he remembers Hiroki's attitude toward the transformed players, and how he refused to hurt them, realizing he may have just found Hiroki's weakness. Understanding that Hiroki's desire to protect these altered players is his soft spot, Zeal starts thinking of ways to exploit it. Meanwhile, Hiroki tries to land non-lethal strikes to slow the monsters down, but it's not nearly enough, and suddenly, he notices Zeal has vanished. He stops fighting and looks around, wondering if Zeal used the distraction to flee. Then a strange expression forms on his face, one of shock and dread. We soon learn why. Naoki and Rabiko have just arrived at the scene, though they haven't spotted Hiroki yet. Rabiko comments that it's odd, he should be right here. Naoki points to a distant area, noting several defeated monsters, and Rabiko confirms what he sees. Just then, Zeal appears in front of them, intending to turn them into monsters just as he had with the others. He seems delighted by the thought of adding more transformed humans to his army, planning to use them against Hiroki, and mocks, "What a pitiful hero." But as Zeal reaches out to touch Naoki and Rabiko, Hiroki suddenly appears and says to his brother, "You're safe," though he's visibly bleeding. Naoki is stunned to see his brother appear so suddenly, more stunned still by the horrific state he's in. It's revealed that Hiroki threw himself between Zeal and Naoki, sacrificing his own body to stop his brother from being turned into a monster. In that instant, all the moments Naoki spent searching for his brother flash before his eyes, every struggle to save him from this world. He recalls the endless battles he fought, and the unbearable pain he endured just to become stronger. Every time he faced a monster, his only goal was to gain enough strength to rescue his little brother once he found him. And he truly did become strong enough, his skills now capable of protecting Hiroki no matter the odds. But now, after finally finding him, after finally standing before him again, he's forced to watch his brother die right in front of him, sacrificing himself to save him. Worse still, Zeal doesn't stop there. He delivers a final strike that tears Hiroki's body apart right before Naoki's eyes. Hiroki's body collapses, his health bar now fully depleted. The game system sends a notification to Rabiko, informing her that her friend, Hero King, has been defeated in battle against the player Zeal. Rabiko is struck by shock and overwhelming grief, having just witnessed the death of her friend and of Naoki's brother, after all their efforts to find him. The same notification begins to spread across the entire game world, alerting all players that Hero King has finally fallen to Zeal. Before passing, Hiroki manages to speak to Naoki, apologizing, while his real-world condition deteriorates rapidly. Zeal stands next to Hiroki's body, grinning with dark satisfaction, laughing proudly. The hero has fallen. Through it all, Naoki stands frozen in shock, until suddenly, something snaps within him, and he charges at Zeal, burning with rage. But Zeal easily dodges his strike, then chuckles and mockingly asks if he happened to know Hero King personally, adding with a smirk that he understands how it must feel to lose him. Suddenly, Zeal lands a powerful kick on Naoki, sending him flying and crashing to the ground. He then places his hand on the ground and activates a large number of magic circles, using them to command his monsters, telling Naoki that he'll soon join his brother Hiroki. The magic circles begin affecting all the monsters in the area, causing them to move toward Naoki, preparing to tear him apart. Zeal watches the scene unfold with enjoyment as his controlled beasts charge at Naoki all at once. He's convinced that Hiroki is gone, and now the one seeking revenge will be dealt with too. But suddenly, someone emerges from the chaos of the monster attack. It's Naoki himself. Zeal is left stunned, unable to comprehend how this young man survived such an onslaught. He immediately commands his personal beast to strike and finish Naoki off, and the monsters rush forward, claws bared. But Naoki begins to unleash his strongest weapon, the Spirit of Despair skill. Raising his flaming fist, he activates the hidden skill, and successfully lands a devastating blow that takes down the creature. Zeal is even more shocked now, but that shock quickly turns into fury as his monster is killed. He shouts at Naoki, demanding to know what he just did. He casts magic again, summoning all remaining monsters to attack Naoki once more. Naoki stands firm, surrounded on all sides, and once again activates Spirit of Despair. In that moment, Zeal screams out in confusion, "What's happening to my body?" It's revealed that Naoki's strike didn't just hit the monsters, it reached Zeal as well, leaving him disoriented and unable to understand what's happening to him. The cause is the sheer power of the Spirit of Despair explosion. It was so intense that it reached Zeal despite the distance between them. Zeal stares at Naoki, now standing amidst the defeated beasts, and wonders in disbelief. Who is this guy to do something like this to me? But even that isn't enough to calm Naoki's fury or lessen his need for vengeance. He steps forward, ready to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, Rebiko activates her magical abilities. She touches the ground and creates a magical circle. In that instant, Naoki finds himself no longer standing before Zeal, but being transported with Rebiko through a circular portal to another location. Still unaware of what just happened, he continues shouting threats at Zeal, declaring that this isn't over yet. Then he realizes he's somewhere else. He turns to Rebiko and asks if it was her magic, begging her to send him back, just for one more moment. But Rebiko refuses, telling him that Spirit of Despair can't be used again for now. She also explains that Zeal has escaped and that it's impossible to pursue him at the moment, which angers Naoki even more. He collapses to the ground, overwhelmed with pain, screaming and crying, consumed by his rage and the sorrow of losing his brother Hiroki. We then shift to another scene, where Zeal has arrived at a location he fled to, visibly exhausted and breathing heavily from what just occurred. He opens his system screen and contacts someone, asking what exactly is going on. He tells the other person that he's never seen an ability like the one Naoki used, and wonders if it might be some kind of cheat. The unknown person replies that what Zeal saw wasn't a cheat. It's likely the Spirit of Despair skill, a hidden ability exclusive to the tank class. Zeal asks whether the skill can be disabled or removed entirely from the game. The person responds that he doesn't have the authority to interfere with other players' abilities. However, he adds that Naoki can still be defeated. He's not an invincible opponent. Zeal agrees, stating that he's right, and that anyone who disrupts the order and system must be eliminated quickly. We then shift to another scene, where Naoki is seen battling a goblin in the middle of the village. It becomes clear that the goblin has the upper hand, and Naoki's abilities are so weak that he can't even defeat a creature of such a low level. Naoki stands and tells his brother Hiroki that this goblin is tough and hard to beat, but Hiroki disagrees. He expresses frustration with Naoki, saying he should have been able to fight goblins by now. Naoki responds that it's not that simple. He explains that learning to control elements and understand enemy attack patterns is complex and exhausting, but Hiroki doesn't seem satisfied with the excuse. Suddenly, Hiroki draws his sword and darts forward, slicing the goblin cleanly in half with a single strike. Naoki stands stunned by what his brother just did. Hiroki tells him he needs to put in more effort and level up. He then adds with a cheerful smile that he wants Naoki to get better at the game too, at least enough to help him. We then see Naoki sitting in the same spot within the village where he used to play with his little brother. Rebiko watches him from a distance, unsure how to ease his pain over Hiroki's loss. Eventually, she approaches him and says it's been a week now, and while she understands his sadness, he interrupts, saying she understands nothing. He pulls out a torn piece of Hiroki's clothing from the battle, looks at it, and tells her that what happened was his fault, and he can't shake the guilt. He remembers that he was the one who gave Hiroki the game, and that he should have leveled up more when he had the chance. And yes, he used extreme endurance to help others, but at the moment everyone needed him most. All he did was stand and watch. He then breaks down in tears, telling Rebiko his brother died because of him, that he was the one who killed Hiroki. Rebiko, deeply moved and grieving for her friend Hero King as well, hugs Naoki and tries to comfort him. She tells him she understands that he's blaming himself for his brother's death, as if he had committed the crime himself, but she adds that this crushing guilt isn't something Hiroki would have wanted for him. She says Hero King was always known for his love of life, his joy, and his willingness to help anyone who needed it, and that he truly was the best player and a real hero. Rebiko then tells Naoki that, after meeting Hiroki, she realized what made him such an amazing hero. He was trying to be like his older brother, Naoki. She adds that even though he got the game from Naoki, he went on to bring joy to people all over the world. She tells him that Hiroki was that kind of person, and there's no way he'd want to see Naoki drowning in grief forever. Then she takes his hand and says she doesn't know exactly what he needs to do, but there's no need to rush healing. He can start moving forward, one step at a time, for Hiroki. Naoki is deeply affected by her words, tears welling up again, and he admits she's right. Hero King loved GCO, and that means he can't just stand by and watch the world his brother loved fall apart. He places his hand on a tree trunk, speaking to Hiroki, saying that everything he loved about this place, and everyone he wanted to protect, he will protect them in his stead. He will help everyone Hiroki once helped. Then he carves the name Hero into the tree, and assures him he will take his place and finish what he started. He adds that, as for Zeal, he'll handle him, and he'll make sure to get justice the right way. Tying the torn cloth from Hiroki's clothes around his arm, he declares that death in this game would be far too easy for Zeal. But because Zeal is responsible for everything that's happened, for bringing ruin to this world, Naoki will defeat him and make him face the full weight of his crimes. At that moment, we see that the fire of challenge has ignited in Naoki's heart, and determination flows through his veins. He declares that he will be the one to bring an end to the horrific crimes committed by the Demon King Zeal in the world of GCO. We then move to another scene, where Naoki is seen battling a group of wild gorillas in some remote area. At that moment, he thinks the first thing he needs to do is level up. Even though he possesses the Spirit of Despair skill, he must strengthen himself and develop his other abilities, because he's in no condition to face Zeal just yet. He lunges at the gorilla, thinking that he has to become even stronger than Hiroki ever was. He also knows he needs to sharpen his senses and improve his combat awareness. Every bit of training will help him save more players. All of this for one sole purpose: to become strong enough to defeat Zeal. At that moment, Naoki manages to defeat the group of gorillas, and a system notification appears, informing him that he's reached level 13, with increased strength and speed. He thinks of his brother and swears to avenge him. Suddenly he hears Rabako screaming and sees her running from one of the gorillas. She's yelling and running in all directions, saying it's impossible. These creatures are just too terrifying. Naoki watches her fleeing with 3 gorillas in pursuit. He calls out to her, frustrated by her behavior, then tells Hiroki he might be delayed in taking revenge, but he will carry it out for sure. We then see that Naoki continues fighting more battles, each one making him faster and stronger. His level keeps rising, reaching 16, and nearly doubling since his encounter with Zeal. Still, he knows he has to keep pushing forward and never let his guard down. Zeal is surely growing stronger too. For that reason, he must train harder, level up, and master his skill usage. Suddenly, he sees Rabako hanging from a tree branch, screaming for him and saying she's in trouble. She pleads with him, saying she desperately needs his help. Naoki tells her he'll get her down first, then figure out what to do. Rabako begins crying, telling him she knows she should be better than this, but she's just too scared. Naoki tells her that she has amazing magic, and that she needs to trust in herself and her abilities more. He adds that her teleportation and clone creation powers are incredibly strong, and if she masters them, she'll be a real force to be reckoned with. But Rabako looks at him in surprise, not expecting him to say that her magic makes her strong. She tells him not to misunderstand. She learned magic only to escape. She says she's not proud of it, but they need to do something about Zeal. It's not just about leveling up. Her shyness makes everything harder. Then, still embarrassed, she tells him that the system requires her to fully defeat enemies to gain experience, but she usually just runs away, so leveling up has been difficult. She adds that just imagining she might die in battle makes her body freeze with fear. Naoki tells her that if it's too much, he can fight Zeal alone, but Rabako tells him that would be reckless, and he can't risk doing it by himself. She says she really wants to learn how to fight, even if it means leveling up slowly. Naoki says he gets it now, and asks what she thinks about upgrading her gear. He suggests she should replace her current armor with something stronger. She replies that it would be great, but she doesn't have the money to buy new armor. She then says they might be able to ask a player who works as a blacksmith to craft armor for them, but it's hard to find a skilled one in the early stages of the game. Naoki likes the idea and says it's worth a try. They can ask around and see if there are any blacksmiths in the village. And so, they begin asking, and one of the villagers tells them he knows a very skilled blacksmith. Rabako lights up and asks Naoki if he's serious about what he just said. He confirms that he is, but adds that everything he knows is just rumors he's heard from people about Arts. Excited, Rabako quickly asks if Arts really lives somewhere nearby. Naoki replies by asking who Arts even is. Rabako looks at him in surprise and replies, "You don't know who she is?" She explains that the player known as Arts is actually named Yamaha. Naoki reacts with surprise, asking if she means the actress. Rabako nods. Exactly, the famous actress who won Best Actress, and she's also a well-known gamer with a channel that has 200,000 subscribers. She adds that Yamaha is here, inside the world of GCO, working as a skilled blacksmith. Naoki, noticing her enthusiasm, comments that she seems very passionate about the actress. Rabako admits that she's her favorite, but at that moment, the man who gave them the tip interrupts and says the situation might not be that simple. Rabako asks him what he means. He explains that, as he said earlier, all of it might just be rumors, and if she is truly nearby, no one's seen her for 2 whole months. We then move to another scene, deep within a mountain cave, where Yamaha is shown holding a pickaxe and breaking rocks. She's gathering raw materials and thinking about how slow the process is, especially since she's doing it all on her own, feeling frustrated with the isolation. But after a moment, she tells herself not to be weak, and keeps mining, muttering that she's not going to ask anyone for help ever again. Back with Naoki and Rabako, they've arrived at the base of the mountain. Rabako says it looks like there's more to this than they thought. Naoki tells her they still don't know much about the blacksmith, and that they too have their own problems. They'll need to find her and negotiate. Rabako responds that the first step is finding her. She's been out of sight for 2 full months. Suddenly they hear a sound coming from the surrounding trees. When they turn toward the noise, they're startled to see a giant spider. Rabako tells Naoki that it's an oni spider, an enormous and extremely dangerous monster. Naoki tries to reassure her, saying that with extreme endurance and spirit of despair, he can but she quickly cuts him off, telling him not to finish that sentence, and explains that the Oni spider is known for its incredible speed, thanks to its 8 legs. She adds that his endurance alone won't be enough to stop or block the creature's attack, and urges him to run now. They both sprint at full speed, eventually reaching the edge of the mountain with nowhere else to go, while the spider closes in behind them. Naoki asks how far her teleportation ability can take them. Rabiko replies that the hula spell only works within a 5-meter radius. She adds that if she casts it now, the monster will catch them instantly. Naoki grabs her hand and says there's no other option, but she doesn't yet understand what he means. He tells her they're going to jump, then, without warning, pulls her and leaps off the cliff. The drop is extremely high, and Rabiko screams in fear. Naoki tells her to open a teleport gate to any spot on the ground, right now. She instantly understands his plan. Rabiko hurries to cast the portal before they hit the ground, and manages to open it just in time. They fall through and land somewhere else, with Rabiko saying she thought they were done for. She quickly stands up and yells at Naoki, scolding him for being so reckless. He just laughs and reassures her that everything worked out fine. Suddenly they notice they've landed in the very spot where Yamaha the blacksmith is working. Rabiko is overwhelmed to see her favorite actress in person. She screams with joy and excitement, thrilled to finally meet Arts, while Naoki is stunned that they actually found the person they'd been searching for, just like that. But as soon as Arts sees them, she quickly turns and starts walking away. Naoki and Rabiko call after her, asking her to wait, but Arts starts running, trying to get away from them. Naoki pleads with her to wait, telling her they just want her to craft some armor for them. She snaps back, telling them to stay away and not follow her. Naoki tries to persuade her again, saying it's really important to them and that they desperately need her help. Arts stops when she hears the seriousness in his voice, but she responds coldly, saying she already told them to back off. Suddenly, Naoki and Rabiko see a massive number of shields of all kinds and styles, with Arts standing behind them. She continues speaking, saying she warned them not to come closer or interfere. Then, using those shields, she creates a massive barrier to separate herself from Naoki and Rabiko, blocking them from getting near. Naoki is stunned by her ability to form a full defensive wall from shields. Rabiko explains that this is Arts' signature move. She tells him that blacksmith-class players can summon the gear they've crafted and combine it to create new tools, like this wall. She adds that she once saw this in one of Arts' streams, where she held off attacks using dozens of shields. But this wall in front of them has over 100. Rabiko raises her voice and apologizes to Arts, saying they don't want to cause any trouble, but suddenly both of them sense something behind them. When they turn around, they realize the Oni spider has caught up to them again. Rabiko panics, saying this is impossible. Naoki tells her it looks like the monster has been tracking them the whole time. Meanwhile, Arts, standing behind her wall of shields, hears what's going on and grows increasingly agitated. After a moment of hesitation, she decides to step in and help, activating her abilities to protect them from the giant spider. Suddenly, as the Oni spider lunges at Naoki and Rabiko, dozens of teleportation gates open directly above it. From each gate, different weapons, swords, spears, axes, and more, rain down on the creature. The weapons slice into the spider, cutting it to pieces before it can reach Naoki and Rabiko. The two stand frozen in shock, overwhelmed by what just happened. At that moment, Arts appears and tells them she just saved their lives. That should be enough. Before turning to leave again, she tells them to go live somewhere far away from her. She never wants to see them again. Rabiko is heartbroken by Arts' anger, saying this is the worst thing that could have happened. Arts walks away, and is later seen arriving at a large waterfall, an isolated place where she lives alone. Behind the waterfall, she's built a hidden cave where she lives by herself. It contains her bed, weapons, and armor. Sitting alone, Arts begins reflecting on her past, how things used to be, and what led her to this place of sadness and isolation. She remembers the days she used to stream GCO content, showcasing rare materials she had gathered. She even announced a giveaway of items crafted from those materials, asking her viewers to leave comments to enter the draw. After finishing her usual broadcast, she logged out of the game, or so she thought. But that time, she couldn't log out. A message appeared on screen informing her that a system error was preventing logout at the moment. Suddenly, a strange man appeared in front of her. He'd been watching her, and he started walking closer, saying the game had broken down and they were trapped in it forever. He then lunged at her in a terrifying way, saying that since they were stuck here forever, he wanted to spend the rest of his time with her. Yamaha was overcome with fear, and the attack had already begun, but a group of players intervened and restrained him. One of them told her to run immediately because things were getting dangerously out of hand. Yamaha is seen sitting, surrounded by a group of players. She speaks in disbelief. This doesn't make any sense. One of them responds, saying that strange monsters had appeared, creatures they'd never seen before, which threw everything into chaos. He mentions that one desperate person tried to reach out to her because she was a well-known figure. He continues, saying they made a decision that might have crossed a line, but in a world like this, someone like Yamaha couldn't survive without protection. That's why they all chose to become her guards, begging her to accept their help. She was their last hope in this world. Yamaha thanks them, but says she doesn't want them to protect her alone. She'll protect them too, and she promises to craft tons of weapons and armor for all of them. The group is overjoyed by her words, and they begin helping one another, mining rocks and collecting raw materials. From then on, they're always seen together, carrying the weapons and armor Yamaha made for them, working as a team to keep each other safe. Yamaha feels truly happy to be part of this bond, to be able to protect her friends just as they protect her. But that smile soon fades, and the hope turns into a look of deep sorrow. We then see the reason why. A tragic scene unfolds where all her friends are killed before her eyes. The few who remained tried to defend her, urging her to escape before she got hurt. But Arts is frozen in shock, unable to process that everyone she cared about was dying trying to protect her. Moments later, one of her friends calls out to her one last time, telling her to run immediately. But when he turns, he finds that she's vanished without a word, with no idea where she went. She's seen running far away, overwhelmed with guilt, convinced her friends died because she couldn't craft strong enough armor to protect them. They died because she wasn't strong enough to save them, because she was simply a part of their lives. All of them gave their lives so she could live. That's why she chose to live alone, far from everyone, so no one else would get hurt because of her. We return to the present, where she sits in her cave, thinking that she will never again allow anyone to interfere or try to protect her. Then the scene shifts to a new, dark, and mysterious place, where a giant skeleton lies at its center. The Demon King, Zeal, appears. This is his domain, and he says it's time to move toward the northern region. He addresses a group of monsters, telling them they are very fortunate and wishing them success in their mission. He is accompanied by two terrifying creatures, his loyal servants who operate under his command. Zeal orders the two demons to go and retrieve Arts, saying she must now fall under his control. They confirm they are at his service. Back in Arts's cave, she remains seated alone, until suddenly, she senses movement outside. Behind the waterfall that conceals her cave, the two demons sent by Zeal have arrived. Arts gets up, saying the materials she's gathered still aren't enough. She needs to collect more, and this time, she'll make sure not to run into anyone. But just as she reaches the cave's entrance, she catches sight of the two demons standing outside, behind the falling water. Suddenly, before she can react, they lunge at her, knocking her to the ground. They force their way inside and stand before her. One of them, the larger one, speaks her name. She looks at them in fear, realizing they're not ordinary players. These are demons. The larger demon says she looks surprised to see them here, and wonders why demons, not players, are after her. He then explains that they are servants of the Demon King Zeal, and they've come to deliver a message from him. The message is simple. From this moment on, Arts will serve the King of Vengeance, Zeal. At that moment, Arts remembers hearing the name Zeal before, and realizes he's the one responsible for killing players all over the game. The larger demon speaks again, telling her that their king works day and night to make this world a better place, and to accomplish that, her blacksmithing skills are essential. He tells her she's expected to craft the weapons they'll use to eliminate the rebels, and that they'll provide all the materials and resources she needs. Art stares at them, unable to respond right away. Then she says she understands what they're asking, but she raises her fingers. Suddenly, a massive barrier made from the shields Arts had previously crafted appears, separating her from the demons. She declares that she doesn't work for criminals and murderers, but the large demon begins smashing through the barrier, tearing the shields apart, and tells Arts that her efforts are pointless. Yet as soon as the wall comes down, he realizes Arts is gone. She's completely vanished from the cave, leaving no trace behind. We cut to Arts crawling through a narrow tunnel, trying to reach an alternate exit. As she crawls, she thinks about her friends who were lost to these demons, and swears she'll never craft gear that killers can use. While crawling and reflecting on her friends, she hears a strange sound outside the tunnel. Suddenly, part of the tunnel collapses, exposing her, and a demoness grabs her by the head. The larger demon arrives and tells his companion, whom we now learn is named Enkidu, that she was the one who found Arts this time, and he admits he lost the bet, laughing mockingly. He adds that Arts wasn't entirely useless. He didn't expect her to have a pre-built escape route. Meanwhile, they had just destroyed the cave ceiling to reach her. Standing tall, the demon admits it was a clever trick, but warns her that next time, escaping won't be so easy. Then, smirking, he says he knows exactly what to do to keep her from trying to run again. He slashes her right leg with his sword. Arts screams in pain, and he tells her that they only need her blacksmithing skills, so her legs are expendable. Arts lies helpless in their hands, crying from the agony. The demon grins and says his idea is brilliant. Now it's time for the other leg. Suddenly, a figure appears at the top of the hill above them, aiming a bow and arrow at the larger demon. The demon is caught off guard as the arrow pierces his arm, and hears the man's voice demanding he leave Arts alone. But soon, he realizes it's not just one person. There's a large group of players arriving to rescue Arts. The archer is revealed to be Arts' old friend, the one who had always protected her. He tells the demons that it's over. They have no escape. But Arts doesn't want anyone interfering again. She doesn't want anyone else getting hurt for her. She turns to her friend and asks, "What are you doing here?" Suddenly, the large demon bursts into manic laughter, mocking Arts' friend and saying he can't believe they think their numbers will give them the upper hand. He raises his hand and activates one of his powers, telling Arts that now she'll see what happens to those who defy the Demon King, Zeal. In that moment, everyone is stunned as something massive falls from the sky in-game. It's revealed to be a gigantic sword. The sword slowly descends toward the area where the players protecting Arts are gathered. Seeing this, Arts screams and begs the demon to stop. She promises to do whatever he wants, but he just laughs, telling her she's too late. While the players stand frozen in fear, thinking this may be their end, the giant sword crashes down on the hill they're standing on, but no one is injured, and not a single player is harmed. The demon says they survived by pure luck, but then he spots something strange in the dust and rubble left by the falling sword. He soon realizes that the strange figure is Naoki. Naoki had arrived just in time with Rabiko, who used teleportation portals to move the players out of the sword's impact zone, while Naoki himself blocked the massive weapon using his extreme endurance ability. Arts is stunned by what Naoki did and feels an overwhelming joy that her friends were saved, but the large demon says this must be the same tank that the Demon King Zeal spoke of. At that moment, Naoki is still holding the giant sword above his head. The demon adds that someone like him could only be working under Zeal's command. Hearing this, Naoki grabs the sword and hurls it with full force toward the demons. But just as he does, the demon smirks confidently and snaps his fingers, taking control of the sword. We see that, just like he summoned the sword from the sky earlier, he can also make it disappear with a single gesture. He tells Naoki, with unexpected admiration, that he managed to block the sword using extreme endurance. He adds that he also succeeded in teleporting the other players away, calling him incredibly talented and highly skilled. Naoki is puzzled by the praise and the demon's tone, but thanks him nonetheless. Then the demon continues, saying, "Despite everything you've done, you're barely breathing now. Did you really think you could take Arts and escape from us?" Naoki remains silent for a moment, then points at the demon and says that Zeal and his followers constantly underestimate him and the rest of the players. They have no idea how strong they really are. At that moment, Rabiko manages to open a teleportation portal right where Arts is being held. Enkidu is caught off guard as Arts, who she's been holding this whole time, suddenly gets pulled into the portal. The larger demon is shocked by the move but assumes Rabiko's teleportation range must be very short. Sure enough, he turns to see Rabiko not far away, confidently managing the portal, despite usually being scared and always running away. The demon realizes that Rabiko was indeed nearby the waterfall all along, and that Naoki's sword throw wasn't an attack, it was a distraction. He now understands that the real purpose behind throwing the sword was to divert his attention away from Rabiko's position. That's when phase 2 of the plan begins. Rabiko runs straight toward Enkidu and surprises her with a sudden kick. The second step also succeeds. Arts, Enkidu, and Rabiko are all pulled into the teleportation portal right in front of the demon's eyes. The demon rushes to follow them before the portal closes, but he's too late. The entry seals shut, and he screams in fury, cursing them all. We cut to another location deep in the forest, where Arts and Enkidu fall from the teleportation portal, with Rabiko landing right behind them moments later. Arts quickly gets up, pulls out a dagger, and throws it at Enkidu, landing a hit on her arm. Enkidu is stunned by Arts' courage and skill, but she's even more shocked when a blast of fire hits her from another attacker. The fire attack comes from one of Arts' old friends. His goal is to buy time for Arts and Rabiko to escape. The plan works perfectly, and everyone feels a wave of relief. Arts' friend confirms that the rescue operation and the separation from Enkidu were a complete success. He continues, saying the only step left now is to escape this place. Enkidu, watching them and having heard everything, becomes furious that they managed to deceive them so easily. Meanwhile, the large demon is on the verge of exploding with rage. He charges toward Arts, determined to take her back and destroy every player who dared to oppose him. But suddenly, he's caught off guard by a sharp movement. Naoki strikes the ground in front of him with a single powerful blow. This stops the demon in his tracks, preventing him from going after the others. Naoki stands firm and tells him that if he wants a fight, he should face him, his true opponent. The demon laughs and says he can't imagine the reward he'll receive from Demon King Zeal if he kills Naoki. We then return to Rabiko, Arts, and the other players, who are now executing the next part of their plan, escaping from Enkidu. As they run, Arts' friend tells Rabiko that her magic has become significantly stronger. Rabiko thanks him, feeling genuinely happy at his words. But Arts, having distanced herself for so long, doesn't understand what's going on. She asks why they're all here together, and why they're not with their commanders. Her friend tells her he'll explain everything step by step. He starts by saying that after she disappeared, they searched for her until they finally tracked her down, something that surprises Arts greatly. He adds that they all knew she carried guilt over the deaths of the original guard team, so they decided to protect her without her knowing. Rabiko joins in, explaining that she met Naoki by chance, and the two of them were later summoned by the guard team, where everything was explained. She adds that they were told the demons were targeting Arts, so the group formed a rescue plan and came to this place together. Arts is deeply moved by what they've done for her. She asks why they went to such lengths even though she had shut them out and pushed everyone away. Her friend responds with the same words he told her before. Her kindness, her smile, and her presence are the last bit of hope left for those trapped in this world. Arts is overcome with emotion and begins to cry, apologizing for running away and leaving them for so long. Her friend tells her that once everything is over, and they finally escape the game, they'll all visit the graves of their fallen comrades together. And those friends, too, will be happy to see this reunion. Just then, a loud sound echoes through the area, and a new demon appears before them, mocking them and asking if they're planning to visit graves. The voice continues, saying they won't get the chance to do that. It becomes clear that this demon is Enkidu. Enkidu goes on, saying none of them will visit any graves, because they're all going to join their dead friends. Rabiko looks at Enkidu, thinking she's a terrifying demon. Her level must be at least 70. She's even stronger than Jack Rex, and worse, she follows Zeal, making her actions dangerously unpredictable. Rabiko realizes this is a terrible situation. She remembers her previous attack on Enkidu only worked because it was a surprise. Now, standing face to face with her, fear completely grips her heart. It feels like it might stop beating. She wonders whether she should run again, convincing herself that Arts can at least hold her off once, and then the guard team can jump in. She justifies it by telling herself that her level is lower than Arts's, and being on the front lines might do more harm than good. These thoughts continue to swirl in her head, and she remembers that she's survived up to this point by always running from danger.